By doing so, you contribute significantly to creating and maintaining a child-safe culture, which is fundamental to our collective safeguarding efforts. Fantastic. And I'm going to throw over to Paul, who will be able to continue for us.
Thanks, Nicole. I'll keep my video off as well. I've seen in the chat that a few people have been having some audio problems, so hopefully it's better with my internet connection. And maybe if anyone just wants to give a quick message there in relation to whether or not they can hear me okay. But thanks again for dialing in to the session tonight. We appreciate the significant role of volunteers. Is there's every chance you're either the child safety officer at your club and or have other roles as well. So so absolutely we appreciate your support. There's quite a bit to take in through tonight's session. It's and we will run through some of the resources that we have available, and essentially there's all of the information that you'll need from a club perspective to deal with what is a really, really complex area. We've put up the national principles for child safe organisations there. This aligns to legislation that came out around 20 years ago, 2005 to be exact. So the Children, Youth and Families Act in 2005 spelt out that organisations, including footy netball clubs, including all sort of sporting organisations, need to take the welfare of children and young people, so people under the age of 18, seriously, and put in place a number of elements to protect children and young people. So a lot of those principles are set out there. It can be daunting and can appear daunting. What we want to do is talk you through the things that we have in place, the support that's available, online, the resources, the posters, the policies, and the tips to help you in your particular role. I'll try and get Nicole just to skip through to the next one. If this is not going to come up all that well, I'll try and take control of the screen as well, just in case Nicole's having still some internet issues. So, Nicole, if you can go through to the next slide. It's not appearing. There we are. It's a little bit slow there, so I'll try and see if I can take control of the screen, and that might enable me to flick through the slides a little bit quicker than Nicole. So what we have here is a number of areas where what it says is what we expect. So essentially, in terms of this, is the legislation, and this is the work that AFL Victoria, AFL Gippsland, and the leagues have put in place. Is essentially all areas to try and provide support to the clubs and how we can support you in your role. So that includes policies, procedures. It includes advice in terms of how to raise a concern. What is a concern to raise up to the AFL and AFL Victoria for support, and what are some things that can be handled locally. The critical role of a child safety officer, education and support that's available to a CSO, risk management guidance, and also some recommendations in terms of safe recruitment practices as well to bring people into to the role, be it coaches and anyone that you're recruiting into the role. So just with the next slide there, Nicole. So for those that haven't accessed the play.afl website, and hopefully if that comes back up, not sure if Nicole's dropped off the line there, but and this might be something that you can actually do if you're dialing in on your laptop, or even if you've got your phone handy as well. So play.afl. I'm more than happy if people want to get their phone out, but definitely write this down. And if you wanted to open up another tab, if you've got another window there, but play.afl. There, for those that are used to this website, it's the sort of the club help website. There's a section there that is a magnifying glass, so you can actually type in the word safeguarding up the top right of the screen there, near where it says register to play. There's a section that you can put in the word safeguarding. All of the resources and tips that you'll get in this session tonight, and again, you'll get the slides after this presentation, so you don't need to write down everything, but absolutely critical is this website for a range of areas. And going off on a slight tangent, but there's a range of other things in that website, play.afl. If you want more information or guidance on concussion, or if you want more information about Play HQ, or if you want more information for position descriptions or strategy planning, etc., but absolutely all of the resources and guidance that we'll run through are on this play.afl /safeguarding. And you can just, as I said, put in play.afl under that the magnifying glass up the top right is the search function, put in the word safeguarding, and you'll get the range of these websites or the range of these resources. So I will, in the next sort of 10 to 15 slides, I'll sort of move through them relatively quickly, but just to sort of explain the things that when you get onto to the site, what you'll see. And I guess what we're doing, Nicole and I are talking broadly to all clubs across the board here. There are some clubs that'll be doing this brilliantly. There'll be some that are working through some of those stages, and some that are probably at the early component. So if there's certain things in here that you see we're already doing, great. If there's other things that you've already done, and we might have a template, but you've already done something in that space, fantastic. So we're sort of speaking in a general sense, and obviously Gippsland's a wide area of the state, and so again, look at what's relevant for you. But absolutely, and this will reinforce the exact steps that we suggest down the track. But this one here is a template for a child safety officer, child safeguarding officer. There's not a significant amount of value of just appointing someone on the committee, deciding at a committee meeting and not telling anyone associated with your club, not telling your members who the child safety officer is. A critical part to that is that we actually need members to know who it is. We need parents, but we also need kids to know as well. They might be having a concern. They might be, it could be with a coach. It could be with someone else at the club. And if they don't know who to talk to, they might not feel comfortable talking to a parent. It might be that the coach is a trusted person in their life, and that might be someone that they've got a little bit of a concern with. But if we've actually got the child safety officer well known throughout the course of the club, it does make it easier for people to raise concerns. And we certainly want to operate in a sort of see something, say something type environment. So this is a template where you can have the name, phone, email in a poster form to actually have up. Could be on a notice board, or to put it into to the change rooms and the social area. You can put up a photo of the child safety officer as well. So there's a poster format of that. And there's also on the next slide, there's a position description that is in a bit more detail about what the CSO does. But as it says there, the first point of contact for community members and others, they are required to take up matters seriously, but it's not the role of the police. It's not to go through and undertake an investigation of serious matters. We'll touch on the portal that's available for CSOs, or to even to promote to people within the club, that they can actually promote this into an AFL portal for help. But it's to be a contact point to assist people that feel that they've got someone to go to that's going to take their matter seriously and give them some guidance about the portal and some other things that that might be available to the individuals. But obviously, that's it's a critical role as part of the club's committee, and to be the the voice of safeguarding on a regular basis. That doesn't mean that safeguarding solely rests with the CSO. It's the role of the entire club, to be honest, but certainly everyone on the committee and all officials and all volunteers at the club have to have an active role. But the CSO is that central point to really continue to drive the conversation at committee meetings and to ensure that the resources that are available on play.afl are shared with parents, shared with committee people, and to ensure that some of the risks are taken seriously. But and there's certainly training that's available and resources that are out there for the CSO to gain that support. So in terms of some of those, and as I said, I will run through these over the next little bit, whether that's 10 or 15 minutes or so, and we definitely have time for questions. So as Nicole said at the start, right up the top of your screen, there is a chat box, and I know someone that's there's a few people that have put some comments there or questions in there. If there's any particular questions that you've got, we'll seek to try and answer those in using that chat function. But again, if you've got your phone there, that QR code down the bottom should be able to take you straight to the site. But again, it's play.afl. Some of those resources, as you can see on the screen there, that's just 3 of dozens that are available there, but it's guidance for coaches and volunteers. So you can print out these resources, give them to coaches. There's some guidance on what is okay, what's not okay. It's often a question that Nicole and the other club development leads across the state, or myself or others will get asked, is to to what is that clarity there, and what are the responsibilities of volunteers, and what should be done as well. So there's on the site there's a commitment statement, and we'll show you what that looks like. A really simple, straightforward commitment statement that helps clubs to spell out what they're focused on, and as well as some more detailed policies that can certainly. The commitment statement's almost like the public statement that goes out there, and you can share through your socials and through newsletters, and to make people aware. And one of the things that we want to touch on is that clubs should be really proud of any work that they do in this space. Yes, there's legislation, and AFL Gippsland and AFL Vic are here to help you navigate that legislation. But any work that you do is ultimately designed to try and keep kids safe, and it's got to be the number one thing that we do. Obviously, the focus is about footy and skills, and at senior clubs, it's often about winning and success, and that makes sense, and raising funds to provide a sustainable club. Juniors, very similar, but obviously about bringing the community together, and friendships, but through all of that, if someone is not safe, it's a horrible experience, and if they can't feel safe within their footy club, we're certainly letting them down by not doing everything we can to try and make them safe. We know that parents would have, if we were to say there's a handful of things that that your child getting involved in your local footy and netball, for that matter, for footy netball clubs, have, and that can be winning and resilience and all the rest of it. But if we were to say safety, we want them to be safe both on the field, but equally as importantly off the field. I'm sure parents would sleep a little bit easier at night. So policy provides a lot more details, but once you have that commitment, once you have a child safety officer, promote it widely, promote it to your sponsors, promote it to your council, promote it to your members, and to let everyone know that you are taking this absolutely seriously, and here's your statement, and you've endorsed a policy that's available for people to read on the website, or if they they need to have a look at the detail of the policy, they can. But these are some of the things that you're committing to. So in terms of the actual declaration, so this is a simple template, just on to the next slide there. So a simple template for a club to show and there's a bit of a it's a one-page document, editable, very simple to complete, that you can find on the website. But it's the 2026 Child Safety Declaration, which has the ability to insert the club name, the details of the president, the details of the child safety officer. The dot points that are listed into to the document on that declaration, and if we get across to the next slide, if you get a chance, Nicole, to display that, but just explains the principles of the legislation. It says that the club will commit to its steps to try and meet those child safe standards, to have as a priority keeping kids safe, and the broad commitment statements that the club will make in terms of discussing the declaration, appointing a CSO, and promoting who that CSO is, implementing some of those standards. So it's a bit of a step-by-step guide that the actual club commits to. So that's certainly something that we strongly encourage clubs to endorse that declaration, edit if needed, but it's designed as a template to make it as easy as possible to edit. We know a lot of clubs have used that template and adopted that and promoted it. And there's a bit of an information template before that one-page guide to give a little bit of a step-by-step. And again, we'll touch on that tonight, but you'll later on, but you'll also see that presentation there. So in terms of some of the child-friendly versions of the documents, it's not displaying on the screen for me, but again, you'll get these presentations after tonight. But just to sort of touch through what you can see when you get access to the website. But there's a range of child-friendly versions of the documents, and why they're important. You'll have a look at the so they're coming up on the screen now, but the previous documents were very club heavy. They were technical, they were policy wording, which don't really speak to children. They're not going to resonate. They're not going to pick up information that is relevant to them. But there is versions have been done, and certainly the experts in this field talk about how important this is about sharing to people that are under 18 versions that they can actually read, digest, understand, simple messages, be safe, feel safe, play safe. If you hear or see something, don't be afraid to say something. Tell a person you can trust. If you've got details and you've got a photo and the name of who the CSO is, someone that's new to the club or in a different age group, often a CSO might be connected to a junior player, they're a parent of someone that's in, say, they're under 12s or 14s or whatever it might be. And if you've got someone that's in the under 10s and they don't really know someone in the under 14s, but if they've got a photo there, they might have seen him and they might feel comfortable to say something. It just might be the difference if they've got a basic guide, a basic poster that encourages them in a format that'll resonate to them, and they can see who they can approach. Yeah, that's certainly a great step compared to those that don't have that up and just hope that someone will raise something to someone on the committee, and it just makes it that little bit difficult for someone to say something. But it could also be a parent, if a parent has seen something and they're not sure who to deal with, and it may be that 999 times out of 1,000, probably more, the president or a vice president is an absolute trusted source, but on occasions it might not be. There might be someone that someone has a concern with, and who do they go to if they're not sure? But if the other child safety officer is someone that's made clear to people within the membership base, they've got someone else they can actually turn to. So in terms of another couple of guides there, and probably back into the more adult guides and guides for sharing with members and making sure that that the committee are across that. But what is a concern and what are the things that should be raised? But certainly any disclosures, allegations, suspicions, complaints. And in terms of suspicions is a little bit of a difficult one to deal with. And I had a club reach out last year about a suspicion that they actually had, and it was someone on their committee, and it was what should we do? We've got a little bit of a suspicion. There's a bit of a red flag, or there's a little bit of a concern that that we might have, and how do we address it with that individual? And what they decided to do was to really be overt with their child safety practices, and that meant that they not only was it the working with children checks across the board, but it was about the appointment as a child safety officer. It was about some of the things that we'll touch on later on about things like ensuring that there was never a situation where there was one individual that could have been with a child alone. You know, that could be training night, it could be match day, but in terms of players that are out there and someone's a little bit sore, yep, look, I'll just go in and take you into the change rooms, and we'll get a Band-Aid or an ice pack, and just being overt to those sort of situations that can arise, making sure that there was not a situation where parents were communicating via phone, via text messages, via social apps, and to children directly. And so they put in a range of steps, and essentially that person that they were concerned with ended up leaving the committee. There's no guarantee that they were there in some way to do the wrong thing, and it's an absolutely unknown. But the people of that committee slept a bit safer, slept a bit sounder on the basis of, and this wasn't any direct allegation, it was a suspicion, but they acted on it, and they acted on the basis of keeping kids safe being their number one priority. And it was something that, because we often hear that if someone is involved that may be there for the wrong reason, they might test the boundaries, test the sort of the what is the if this was to happen, would I be not necessarily caught, but would someone else pull me up on that? Is this possible? Then is that possible? And taking things that little bit further, and what would the committee say about that? Or would that situation be sort of swept under the carpet and just sort of testing the waters? So in this case, the club through being very, very diligent, supporting the resources, supporting the what was available to them, putting all those things in place, clearly created a safer environment, less likelihood of something happening, and perhaps without being as dramatic as could have saved someone's life, but certainly could have prevented some something from happening that obviously the club wanted to avoid. So again, these sort of where it talks about concerns and disclosures, we can talk about a little bit down the track as well, but or in this presentation. But yeah, that's sort of one of the challenging one about suspicions. Complaints is a little bit easier because there is a portal to that we would recommend if there is a genuine complaint. Clearly, if the complaint is serious enough or the disclosure is serious enough that the police should be involved, absolutely they should be. And if there's any concern, I would encourage you, if you're not quite sure, go to the police. They'll give you advice as to whether or not. Now, look, that's probably just a matter that you can handle, but they will give you some advice. But we do have an AFL portal there as well, where you can seek some guidance as to what might be something the club can handle, or some guidance to bring in some third parties as well. So in terms of that, what I spoke about then with reporting an integrity issue, reporting a safeguarding matter. So on the next slide there, and there is a QR code that could take you straight through to it, and you will get these handouts. So you will have the information there, and you could use that QR code. But basically, under that play.afl website, the safeguarding part of that site, there's a section called Make a Report under the Policies and Guidance guide section there, where it involves minors, where it involves children, certainly any grooming, sexual or physical assault, security or risk concerns. We certainly encourage that to come through there. What I said before about if you're not sure, do report it. There are some extremes to that. People are reporting bullying on the basis of someone's not being selected in a team. That's really something, or they're not getting enough time on the ground. And they are things that come through to the AFL that is asking the AFL to investigate the amount of time that a player might get in the under 10s or 12s or 14s. That's not the role of the integrity portal. And if someone is coming through to the club, that is something, unfortunately, that a club would deal with. And I'm just no doubt that people that are dialing tonight have had those. They could have been this week, or they'd be next week, and or as it gets closer to finals, they become more significant, as we know. But certainly anything where there is a safety concern, sending that through to the portal. You can do both through to the portal, and if there's any view that there might be a threat to the child, then straight through to the police, and again, they'll give some advice and guidance as to whether or not that's something that they will handle. And or whether or not it is something that the sport can deal with. But there are experts there, the AFL's there to help. So certainly don't hesitate to gain that support through that portal there. Just a couple of examples on the next slide, and there's only about a handful of slides left. So getting towards the back end of the presentation, again, all of this is on there. But this next slide about risks is one that I'd really encourage our clubs to just at your next committee meeting, or if that's too soon, the one after. But just have a section on safeguarding, and really just to brainstorm what are the possible things that could go wrong. So is there a situation where you could have an adult and a child in a change room by themselves at any one point in time? And if that is the case, what can you do differently? And obviously talking to coaches and team managers, but also talking to parents saying, we don't accept that as a club. It is a risk. It's a risk to us as a club. It's a risk to the children of the club. And if anyone sees that, we want you to point that out to the coach, point that out to the club, because we don't stand for that. And we want to have practices that prevent that from happening. So you can tell your coaches, you can tell your team managers, but if you've got extra eyes of saying, and parents are around and they see that, we want them to say something about that. In terms of coaching relationships, physical contact always should be avoided, getting permission, explaining to parents, and really sort of erring on the side of caution when it comes to physical contact. But we know there's new legislation about social media use, and that certainly helped, but that ability to still connect through messenger services like WhatsApp and text messages and other platforms are still possible. And certainly, and Nicole might touch on this later, but we would absolutely say that any adult, so any coach, any team manager shouldn't be directly communicating via a platform, via WhatsApp or text messages to a child directly at all. Far best just through the parents. It's even dangerous if you've got both the child and parents in a collective group, because that does create then still an opportunity, and it's okay for someone to communicate to the child, even if parents are seeing it. It just sort of creates a bit of a risk. So we certainly say don't do that. In terms of transport, I know it's really challenging if a parent can't get there, but just having, and there's some guides there that in a perfect world you've got a parent would sign something to say, yep, I'm aware, I've got a neighbour, I've got a friend, and it might be slightly overkill, but to say, yep, I give permission for someone to drive my child to and from training or to and from away games, or if they're best of friends and it's a really, really low risk, that's okay, and that might be fine. But again, it just sort of creates a bit of grey if it's just open to, yep, that's fine. Anyone can get in a car with anyone, and away it goes. Just those sort of conversations and what can happen does create a risk. But it's just sort of getting a couple of guides, and we do have on the next slide a bit more of a detailed risk assessment template. So these can be questions that the club can ask itself and go through, yes or no. And if there's a no, okay, what are we going to do about that? Or do we accept that sort of risk? Is it a high risk? And then what's going to be our priority? And it's not about fixing everything tomorrow or this week, but it's what are the things that if we could fix today, what could we do? Or what could we do before the weekend's games? Or what could we do next month? And just trying to sort of do a few things better. And I know I've sort of presented on this a few times, and in an in-person environment, it's a bit easier for people to ask questions, but I've had that. So what if we identify something? Doesn't that create an extra risk for us as volunteers if something goes wrong down the track? And ultimately, the more you do in a proactive sense, the safer it is for the children, and therefore something goes wrong down the track, you can hand on heart say, hey, we tried. We've implemented working with children checks. We've had this policy. We had a CSO. We talk about it seriously at a club level, and we knew we couldn't prevent every possible risk from happening, but we did everything we could. And these are all the things that we put in place. And yes, well, I've been on volunteer club and league boards as well, and I know there's 1,000 things to do, but all I can do is implore you that the safety of kids is paramount, and therefore the more that you can do, and every step that you do, and everything you put in place is going to make your club safer, which is a great legacy for even if you're in your role for 1 year. If you can do a little bit to ensure that your club is safer as a result of your involvement or something you've done, or you've added safeguarding as a regular conversation at the committee level, is a good start as well. And then just to actually talk about what's happening in that space as well. So the last couple of slides for me, and I'll hand back to Nicole. Hopefully, Nicole's sound is a little better back towards the back end, but we've got a couple of tips there about coach recruitment or even volunteer recruitment. So looking for the right type of person, absolutely with a CSO. I would say a perfect CSO is a current or ex-teacher, or someone that's had some training in this space, that's worked as a nurse or worked as a police officer, or someone in authority that's feels confident in taking this matter seriously. But that doesn't mean that they're the only people that can do it. There's someone that is passionate about this space and will take this role seriously, and that it's not a tick box exercise. But also this sort of stems across from everything from coaches, doing background checks. In a perfect world, you're interviewing, and understand that just getting a volunteer to do a role is hard enough. but just those extra steps, or doing some checks if they've been involved at another club, giving them a call, or have they got any references, and sometimes just asking people for that, it might be a bit of a surprise, and that might be the difference between them deciding to put their hand up or not. So it may be something, but you certainly can do background checks and asking those questions to try and weed through why someone's involved, and as it says there, be picky. But there's some guidance again in safe culture, safe people in that resource that's available on the AFL site there. Last one from me. There's again a couple of other tips, some of which we've gone through. There's a more of a step-by-step guide that's available. These links that are coming up, there'll be clickable links when Nicole shares them for everyone that's dialed in as well. So you'll be able to click through. But we've touched a bit on that safeguarding checklist that's available. There's a safe footy check-in tool that sort of goes through those different elements as well, and the implementation guide that's available there. But the last few slides to wrap up are with Nicole. I'll turn my microphone off for Ruff a little bit, and if you want to jump back on, Nicole, to wrap up the last few slides, hopefully the sound's okay.
Fingers crossed. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Hopefully everyone can see we've got a 4-step key actions that what you can actually do and implement in your club right now. The first one is go to your committee for support, and including completing that 1-page declaration. So getting that implemented is the first step. It's going to be the best way for you to really introduce and embed some child safe practices into your club. The appointment, education and promotion of your child safety officer, utilising all our resources that we do have both online with our Play AFL website, and calling upon myself and, if needed, Paul and other AFL Victoria people. We're here to help. We understand that this is a really big, sensitive topic, and it can be quite daunting, but yeah, that's what we're here to do, to come out and assist. We're happy to sit down with all of our clubs to ensure that we've got the right processes set up. And the final point there is keep talking and keep reviewing. So we've got a little bit of an action and agenda for a committee meeting. Make sure it is a key topic that is discussed at every single committee meeting that you have. If there is any concerns, if there's any updates that you need to provide. So hopefully everyone can still hear me. I'm not sure if it's, yeah, my internet's been pretty poor. Sorry about that. The next slide that I just wanted to take everyone through is two major questions and concerns that we have had in Gippsland over the past couple of weeks as we saw the start of the season. And the first one is around photography, phones and change rooms. So I have got an example there. Fantastically, the Lindenow Football Netball Club, they had on their social medias a couple of weeks ago their change room policies about what and who is allowed to actually take some rooms in there. So hopefully that's something, yeah, when you do get the slides that we can actually see. So the first point's there, no photos, videos or recording devices should be in the change rooms, toilets, or the first aid areas. Mobile phones and recording devices should be put away while you're in these spaces. Only approved club photographers should take photos in designated public areas. Parents can take photos of their children appropriately, but the club should set some clear expectations around image and social media use. And we do recommend that you do communicate expectations through your policies, inductions at the start of the season, and whole club information sessions. With the document that we do send out, there are a number of links to the AFL Community Club photography guidelines, and also a link to the sport integrity change room for facilities for kids. The last one we've got in there is team messaging apps. So we have, as Paul mentioned before, there has been a lot about our kids using internet and social media apps, and they shouldn't really be on it. But the best practice should be for all clubs is communication with minors should always go through the parents or guardians. Adults and children should not be in a shared private messaging space or direct communication channels. We know a lot of clubs use items like WhatsApp and Messenger to actually send through important information, game day rosters, etc. We do need to ensure that the kids are actually not on these apps. Anyone under the age of 18, that would be recommended. So we've got to be really careful because we don't know who is going to be sending messages or who is receiving them. So with WhatsApp, it's obviously got the phone number and the details of the child, and we just don't know who within your club or within that group is actually able to access the details and connect with kids without any visibility of their parents over their conversations. Fantastic. So that comes to the end of our official presentation tonight. So we've still got around about 10 minutes. Again, apologies about the internet there. We will send through a link of a lot of additional websites and resources that are out there. So links to the Commission for Children and Young People, the Department of Health, the E-Safety Commission, Play by the Rules, Sport Integrity Australia have got some fantastic resources, Vic Sport Child Safety websites, working with Children's Victoria, and also Netball Victoria have some great resources that we can actually utilise. So as I said, that comes to the end. We haven't had many questions available. I don't know if the chat's actually been disabled. So if you did have a question that you would like to ask either Paul or myself, please feel free to put your hand up and we will be able to answer them as best as we can.
So Nicole and I will stay on the line for 10 minutes. But if anyone does need to get away a couple of minutes early, if you don't have any other questions, again from Nicole, myself, AFL Gippsland, AFL Victoria, thanks for everything you do. The fact that you've given up another hour shows your commitment to your club, your community. The messaging that we've got tonight goes right across the club. So yes, we're from AFL, but it does a lot of the guidance and all the policies can be for your whole of club. So so footy, netball as well. But again, really appreciate your time. Have a look at the website. As Nicole said, if you've got any questions, feel free to go through to your league and or to reach out to Nicole. But I guarantee you the sort of guidance will be available on the website. And even as one of the later points that Nicole spoke about social media, it is complex. There's some guidance on the play.afl website about social media, use and guidance for clubs. I know that safeguarding bit as well. But we're here to help. It's complex, but thanks again for giving up an hour of your night tonight.
Fantastic. So
There's
I
questions
can
just
see, there is questions.
yeah.
The chat was working, then it wasn't. So
Do you want me to
not sure
jump
what's
in
going
there,
on there.
Nicole? But
Yeah,
thanks for the
go for it.
question, Amanda. Essentially, what we've run through tonight is the expectations of clubs in relation to the 11 principles. The principles came out of the legislation 20 years ago. So all the guidance that we've tried to sort of boil it all down, but basically it talks about taking it seriously, having a policy in place, promoting it widely, having a child safety officer, ensuring that you're looking at so having working with children checks and all of those things that we've run through tonight are all designed to meet the expectations of the legislation that's available to clubs. So it's a really good question, Amanda, and that's what we've tried to do is break down. Legislation is quite detailed, and all of the steps, if you sit down and read every component to it, are certainly daunting. But the website has the details, and certainly working through those steps that we'll share in the notes is what's required. But great question, Amanda. We'll give another minute or so for any questions. We've still got a few minutes in the time. So again, Nicole and I will stay on the line. But thanks again for those that dialed in and don't have any questions.
Good day, Nicole, or Paul, or Kev Christensen.
Hi,
I know
Kev.
you've got a fair bit of ground to cover, but would it be unreasonable to perhaps get you out to the club at some stage and just have a sit down with the key personnel in the club? I'm talking coaches, team managers, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of my role as club development is to get out to the club. So feel free to either send myself a email and we'll set up a time and date for myself to come out and visit yourselves.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, we'll get a lot of this material out
yeah.
In the public space, and once we've sorted a few ground rules and things, we'll do that. Cheers.
Brilliant. Great work, Kevin.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, as I was going to say, that offer is actually open to all 135 clubs right across Gippsland. That is basically my job, to get out to assist and help wherever we can. So yeah, if you also would like me to come out to your club, please let me know, and yeah, we can get on the road and come and say hello and get some policies and procedures up and running at your club.
So I've just opened up the Q&A part. There's a question from Fiona about are the resources going to be sent to the email address that was used in registration. I assume that's your plan, Nicole, that's where to go back out to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do a twofold for that one. So everyone who did register, even if they did or didn't attend, they will receive the presentation and all of the links. But I'll also follow this up via all of the leagues and send them all the details, and we'll ask them to send it to the clubs as well. So it will mean that all of our clubs will actually receive some of the access on there. I know we've got a lot of league ops managers online tonight, so expect that email tomorrow sometime, and yeah, it'll be great for them to share it all through to everyone.
Yeah, that's a good question, Fiona.
All right, fantastic. I can see that there's a lot of people logging off at the moment. So I think we might end the meeting here. As we have reiterated, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Apologies for all of the internet issues and concerns that we've had. We hope you all have a fantastic night.